Hi guys, so this is going to be the final video on Pong animation where I'm going to take you through setting up the score, keeping score for the game, and a few other enhancements. So what we can do first, starting with where we left off with some minor enhancements to the different procedures and adding sound and such. And now we're going to add a new variable called score. And this is gonna just make it more of a game-like structure. So whenever the sprite touches the paddle, our score will change. So we'll go over to the touching paddle procedure, change score by 1. And then something else we can do is we're going to add a back wall so that when the sprite doesn't hit the paddle, it'll hit the back wall, and we'll have a procedure for that. Change the costume to kind of align like the paddle. And then we'll just put that back here as our back wall. And so we'll start another procedure back in our sprite for touching back wall. So this is going to be if we're touching the back wall, then we want it to play. We're going to add a sound. We're going to import a different sound, because we're using the pop sound for when it touches the paddle, but we'll use a different sound for when it touches the back wall because it's like an error sound. Change the score by 0, and we want it to still bounce. So in sounds, we have our pop sound here still, but we can import a different sound. I'm just gonna use the finger snap sound, but you can go on like YouTube and get a sound file or use any sound you want, really. That's gonna be our back wall sound. So then we can put this all into a new block. Touching the back wall. We'll throw that into our master code. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is make a variable called speed, and this is going to be for if we make any errors, the speed is going to go up, and then if we continue to do well, then the speed will stay the same or go down in certain circumstances. But you can kind of make this however you want. Like in the text example, you can have it like every 5 hits, the speed will increase. So then at some point, the speed is going so fast that you might not get it, and then you'll have like a max score. So we'll just make a new variable called speed. And these two you can keep at the top of your like white playing area, just so you can see them, because they're more crucial to the game than the entry and exit angle. So we want to keep those checked. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the speed variable into here because we want it to move whatever our speed is. And then we can make a setup procedure so that we just have an initial place for our sprite to be instead of just willy-nilly. I'm gonna make a block, but I'm gonna make it an other, so it'll just be a little gray setup. And we'll position our sprite at -150 and 0. And then we want our initial score to be 0 and our initial speed to be 5. But like I said, you can add a procedure to make the speed increase at any intervals. Sorry, it's loud. Okay, next we are going to enhance our paddle. Actually, let me run the procedure and we'll just see what it looks like. And let me add the setup. Boop. Okay, let's see if it does our sound when it hits the wall. Different sound. Cool. Did my score change? Yes, it did. Perfect. Okay, next we're going to enhance our paddle surface. So it's going to make it a little more difficult because we're going to have 2 pieces on the end of our paddle that when those get hit, you don't increase your score. So it makes it a little more complex, and you have to align your paddle right in the center to get the score or to get the point. So here we're just going to create 2 different sprites, and we're going to name them by position that we're going to put them. So all right, and then we just have our regular paddle, and then I'm going to come to the costumes, and I'm going to do the paint feature again. And I think my paddle size, my brush size was about 10. And then I can just, let's see, I'll use blue. I'm going to draw like a little line. And then I just want to make sure that that aligns well with my paddle. And I'm just going to drag the same costume to my other site. So now I have 2, I think. Oh, yep, and you want to align them on the right spots on your paddle because we're going to make it so that they move together. So the next thing we want to do is come here to our like buttons for the scripts or whatever, and we'll drag them over to the center paddle so that they move together. So now when we start, the whole paddle will move. But we're going to add in some features that make it more difficult. So we'll want to work back in our script or in our sprite script. And we are going to come to our touching paddle procedure, and we'll just edit the whole thing. And you can make that bigger like that. And we'll just add, I'm just going to duplicate this and get rid of some things. If touching the top paddle, I want it to play that same finger snap sound because it's going to be like the error sound. And we're not going to change the score, but we are going to bounce. And then we'll just repeat this procedure for the bottom paddle. So now to get the point, you have to get it in the purple part of the paddle. So yeah, let's run it and see how it looks. Got my first point. Oh, no. Switched up there on me. Alrighty.